welcome to The Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Mica Burton.
G2A has been making headlines for all the wrong reasons recently, and they're not taking any more of your shit, internet. Your money? Yes. Your shit? No.
The Steam key reseller is now fighting back against its critics, starting with their latest opponent and former partner, video game publisher Gearbox.
Following the saga over the severed relationship between G2A and Gearbox over Bulletstorm Full Clip, G2A is now accusing Gearbox and John Bain, aka Total Biscuit, of defamatory statements and false information.
Huh. Man, that game has suddenly received a lot of free publicity all of a sudden. Is that nice?
Bulletstorm Full Clip.
This accusation comes from a new statement by G2A where they basically doubled down on all of the things that people have correctly criticized them on over the years.
First, before we get too far into it, let's play a little catch up on how this matchup in heaven all unraveled in the first place. We've got a better breakdown in the story we did on this over the weekend. We'll put that in the end slate for you if you want to catch up, but if you're unaware, here's the quick version. Last week, G2A and Gearbox teamed up to announce a collector's edition of the remastered Bulletstorm Full Clip for PC, which was meant to be exclusive to G2A.
And then everything went totally off the rails when the internet started criticizing the partnership, most notably YouTuber Total Biscuit, who said he'd stop covering Gearbox games if they continued to stay partnered with such a shady business like G2A, and outlined for Gearbox all the reasons the partnership was bad news since they either didn't practice due diligence and research that themselves, or they just were gonna sweep it under the rug and say, it's no biggie.
Nah, not a big deal. No, who will notice? All right, so now it's time to double back to why people don't like G2A in the first place. G2A's main business is reselling Steam keys on the cheap. Sounds good on the surface, but it's opened the door to some shady transactions involving stolen credit cards and unauthorized keys appearing on the marketplace because there's really no policing of that marketplace.
G2A has tried a number of ways to mitigate these concerns, but in the eyes of many, some of those just made the problems worse. One of the ways they protect you now is through paid insurance, which is criticized as being very similar to a protection racket.
So yeah, the internet reacted, Gearbox listened, they worked with Total Biscuit to create a list of demands for G2A. If they didn't change 4 particular parts of their customer policies, Gearbox would back out of the partnership and yank the collector's edition of Bulletstorm Full Clip from sale. And here's the best part, they gave them 24 hours. I'm gonna level with you, nothing in business happens in 24 hours. You know it doesn't happen? Completely changing all your customer policies. It was really a PR exit. But is what it was, but it was framed as reasonable demands.
And they made it dramatic and they went out with a bang, so we were all entertained. Points for that. G2A, however, did not take the bait, so that's exactly what happened.
They left.
They just pulled the collector's edition. So the collector's edition, no more. And now G2A has finally responded to the whole fiasco with a very lengthy statement that basically in fancy terms says, screw you, we're going to run our business however the fuck we want.
They took lessons on PR from United, I guess. In the statement, G2A wrote, our partner, Gearbox Publishing, unfortunately decided to publicly publish a letter with a list of ultimatums without consulting us about the truth of the allegations made by John Bain.
The company went on to say, this is an excellent example that rash actions without full knowledge of the facts can be harmful to both the developer and the marketplace, especially since all of the requests made of G2A.com in the ultimatum have in fact long been a part of our marketplace.
So exactly what were the ultimatums? Well, they included making G2A Shield, the customer fraud protection service, free instead of a paid subscription, which by the way is also virtually impossible to cancel once you're signed up. It's they make it very, very difficult. They don't want you canceling that. They also included opening up the G2A API so that developers and publishers could flag fraudulent keys for removal from the system.
They also demanded an implementation of throttling for non-certified users to stop those users from posting huge amounts of keys at one time. Plus, they asked for them to restructure the payment system so that customers who wish to buy and sell legitimate keys are given a clear, simple fee structure that is easy to understand and contains no hidden or obfuscated charges, which sounds legitimate.
It sounds customer friendly, doesn't it? No. G2A's statement defends every single one of these ultimatums, well, 3 out of the 4, with their side of the story, in order to better educate people about their platform.
In regards to G2A Shield, the company argued that all customers are already protected for free. It's just that when you don't have G2A Shield, you first have to interact with the seller directly to try and get a resolution before contacting G2A. According to G2A, Shield members are simply paying to skip that part of the process for more convenience.
Okay, sure. In the next part of their statement, G2A also went to bat against the allegations that they often have a lot of hidden or obscure fees. There are several complaints online, very easy to find if you look for for them that G2A will often sneak in a one-time shield protection charge of $3 or €3 when making your final purchase. That kind of thing. To that, G2A responded rather vaguely and insisted that, well, there aren't any hidden fees, and we wouldn't have been able to build such a successful platform if there were, now would we?
Well, I'm so glad that's all cleared up, aren't you?
Yep.
And lastly, G2A argued against the demand that they should be required to give developers and publishers third-party API access so they can flag fraudulent keys.
And this is actually where they spend the bulk of their time in the statement, because according to them, this is the crux of the entire issue people have with G2A in general. The company wrote, "The problem is that some developers do not want to accept that people resell their games. The developers would like to control the market and all the sales channels within it, imposing higher prices and prohibiting the resale of unused games. G2A.com does not agree with this. We respect the buyer's rights, buyers who often, unfortunately, believe that the rules set forth by developers follow the law."
They went on to describe a hypothetical scenario where a publisher removes keys from G2A simply because they don't like how the game might be selling for. They went on to say, "This is why G2A.com will not give developers with whom we have not signed an agreement unlimited access to and the ability to modify our databases. G2A.com has to protect every honest seller, and by giving such access to all developers, we would allow for a situation in which a developer could delete every key on our marketplace regardless of its origin. Such an action would be damaging to the industries, to gamers, and illegal."
So they allow fraudulent keys to stay up in order to protect you guys. It's all about you.
That's so nice of them. But, you know, to be fair, they do have a point in that game publishers and developers have a vested interest in prices staying higher, but making developers pay into what they consider to be a shady marketplace in order to protect themselves from fraud is a bit of a strong-arming tactic.
Well, no, it's just the publisher side of G2A Shield, really. It's just like, it's insurance. Oh, you want access to flag fraudulent keys? Pony up the dough.
G2A Shield Plus.
Right. Ultimately, G2A says they respect their critics, but feel they're misinformed, which leads them to misrepresent the company and its offerings. So basically, if you're a critic, they respect you, you're just wrong and dumb. G2A said, "Most of the allegations levied against us are based on both a lack of knowledge and a lack of desire to learn the other side of the story. The best example of this is quoting false and defamatory statements while ignoring the facts." So, where is the part where they address the bit about like random users being able to list thousands of keys at a time, which is in any case pretty suspicious activity?
I didn't see that in there.
No, is that bad for business?
I think that's a little bit bad for business.
Okay.
All right. Well, seems like G2A is still insisting that their business practices are just fine. And it even says in the statement that if you don't agree with the basic premise that key reselling is legal, then you and the company will just never see eye to eye.
I don't think most of the critics are saying that you shouldn't be able to resell keys. That's not the issue that people are having here.
No.
The issue for a lot of gamers is how G2A profits on some of the misunderstandings, and they're able to make money under certain scenarios that screws developers and gamers at the same time. Being able to resell a Steam key that you don't want to activate, sure, that makes a lot of sense. Protecting publishers from stolen credit cards and fraud, that shouldn't be a business model. Like, you shouldn't have, that shouldn't even be an argument.
And yet it is. That's why we're here. They're framing their argument in pro-consumer terms, but many of their practices haven't exactly proven that out. They do say that they'll continue to iron out the kinks in some of these policies, but for now, it looks like they're gonna continue doing things the old G2A way.
So what do you guys think of G2A fighting back against its critics, against false information? Let us know in the comments.
For future updates on how to PR by G2A, or United, remember to like this video and subscribe to The Know.
Welcome to The Know, I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Mica Burton.
G2A's been making headlines for all the wrong reasons recently, and guess what? They're not going to take any more. They're not going to take any more of whatever you have to give.
To give developers and publishers third-party API access so they wait, what? Argued
against.
against. I left a word.